After Iran unleashed a massive missile strike on Israel, hitting several cities and key military sites, the United States moved fast. American cruise missiles found an Iranian warship in the Persian Gulf and sent it straight to the ocean floor. Additional strikes hammered oil storage depots along Iran's coastline. Storage tanks exploded into massive fireballs visible from miles away. Alongside the strikes, a full combat mobilization was ordered across every branch of service. All available units received the signal, "Move to combat readiness now." On the airfield, the response was already in motion. Two CH-53 Sea Stallion heavy-lift helicopters sat on the flight line, rotors already spinning. Ground crew kept clear of the rotor wash. Inside the ready room, pilots geared up, pulling on flight suits, strapping into survival vests, checking sidearms, seating their helmets. Near the birds, Marines were formed up in two chalk groups, one per aircraft. Every man carried a full combat load: body armor, helmet, rifle, loaded magazines, grenades, radio, water, and rations. On the order, the first group moved toward the lead CH-53 and filed in through the side door. Across the airfield, a CH-47 Chinook was being prepared for a different tasking. Marines loaded through the rear ramp and took seats inside the cargo hold. Below the fuselage, ground crew worked to rig a towed howitzer to the external sling. Once the load was checked and secured, the Chinook lifted off with the artillery piece hanging beneath it. It flew low and fast toward a forward military camp. On approach, the aircraft descended slowly, while the crew chief talked the pilots down until the gun made contact with the ground. The sling released. The howitzer sat in the dirt. The Chinook moved to a nearby spot, landed, and Marines walked off the ramp. They went straight to the gun, unpacking ammunition, spreading trails, digging in spades, mounting sights, stacking rounds. Positions set. As evening came on, two more helicopters arrived at a separate forward position with additional Marines aboard. The aircraft touched down on flat, open ground. No structures, no cover, nothing. The Marines stepped off and spread out. Darkness was coming in fast. There were no tents, no shelters, no facilities, just open terrain. They established a defensive perimeter, positioning crew-served weapons to cover the most likely avenues of approach. Watch rotations were set. Some men dug shallow fighting positions. Others laid their gear directly on the ground: sleeping bags, ponchos, ammunition within arm's reach. They ate cold rations, drank from canteens, and settled in as the temperature fell. Nothing overhead but open sky. Through the night, helicopters made repeated supply runs into the position, navigating blacked out on night vision. Each flight brought more in. Ammunition crates were offloaded, anti-tank weapons, mortar tubes and rounds, radio batteries, medical supplies, all of it stacked and sorted. On one of the later runs, lightweight tactical buggies rolled down the rear ramp of a Chinook. The vehicles were driven off and parked under camouflage netting in concealed positions. Comm specialists erected satellite antennas and linked up with the command post. By sunrise, what had been an empty patch of ground was now a functioning forward operating base. Vehicles, weapons, supplies, and communications fully established. At first light, Marines pushed out from the camp. Squads split off toward their assigned sectors, first task being reconnaissance. Teams moved slowly through the terrain, reading the ground, identifying natural cover, marking ridge lines and dead ground that could conceal enemy movement, mapping fields of fire and likely ambush points. Everything observed was recorded and passed back to the command element. Sniper teams moved to elevated positions with wide observation over the surrounding area. Rifles were unpacked, bipods set, equipment laid out, spotting scopes, rangefinders, wind meters, logbooks. One shooter, one spotter. They began working through their sectors methodically, marking distances to landmarks, flagging potential targets, logging any movement. The infantry squads ran through their combat drills, bounding movement across open ground, one fire team advancing while the other covered, then switching. Building and room clearing rehearsals, movement through wadis and ditches to stay below the line of observation. Everything done at a crouch or crawl, speed and silence above everything else. Squad leaders watched each run, corrected what was wrong, and ran it again. Drills repeated until every man moved without hesitation, without noise, and without breaking cover. Immediate action drills followed. Contact front, contact flank, ambush. They rehearsed casualty evacuation, getting a wounded man to cover while keeping fire going. Machine gun teams identified primary and alternate positions and practiced displacing between them under pressure. Once drills wrapped up, the Marines returned to camp. Weapons were cleaned, gear was checked, positions held. They waited for the real order. When the combat alert came, every man would already know exactly what to do.